Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and since it's Women's History Month, I'm here today to talk to you about The Little Mermaid, the television series, created by Jamie Mitchell. Now, before I go any further, I just want to say, with a heavy heart, and this is truly a heavy heart, because these people, man, I'm telling you, they really gave it all in their voice acting. And it's so sad to see them pass away. But rest in peace, Kenneth Mars, who played King Triton, Samuel E. Wright, who played Sebastian. And last but not least, Pat Carroll, who played Ursula, who recently just passed away a few days ago, or a few weeks ago. May they all rest in peace. Now, this was a television series I watched as a little boy growing up. It came out in 1992, and it lasted for 3 seasons. And let's see, season 1 had a total of 14 episodes. Season 2 had 9 episodes, and season 8 had 8. So that is around 31 episodes or so. And, originally I had kind of forgotten all about this series, right? Until I was going to make another video about a bunch of other Disney Channel like cartoon shows and stuff. And I was thinking, okay, what about that Little Mermaid show? But I'm all like, no, wait, that wasn't part of this special group of cartoons, because this was on CBS and it aired on Saturday mornings. And so I'm all like, okay, I'll just make like a separate video. And so I'll do that other thing, because I was going to do the Disney afternoon blog. And so but like I said before, that came on in the afternoons on the weekdays, and this show came out on the weekend on Saturday mornings and stuff. And this show, it really means a lot to me, because this is actually what got me liking The Little Mermaid, because I used to hate The Little Mermaid and stuff and everything. Like, that was one cartoon movie I did not like. And the main reason why I didn't like it is because of 2 reasons. One, I don't like mermaids or mer people, whatever you want to call them. I can't stand them. I don't like fishes, like little fish tails and stuff. Like fishes are okay if it's a cute fish, or if it's a cool, like awesome looking fish. But them ugly little fishes with them big eyes and the guppy looking mouths, I don't like that. But I never liked mer people, half human, half mermaid tail. That's just always grossed me out and stuff. And Ursula just scared the piss out of me growing up. So I didn't like her at all in that movie and stuff. But she is one of the coolest Disney villains of all time. But then this show, like I said before, it somehow, I don't know what it is, but somehow it caused me to like The Little Mermaid. And one reason why I did, because they didn't look, because one thing about the Disney movie, the animation was so good in the movie and fluid. It was had like a fluid looking feel to it. It had this gazy type feel to it, this mystical type feel to it. It had that Disney magic, right? And so it just made everything look so lifelike in that movie, with the tails and the octopuses and all kind of other stuff. And it just really grossed me out. But then, because the animation, this is more simple, it didn't gross me out as much. And also another reason, because I was like a boy growing up, and it was like, oh, this is just a girly movie and a girly cartoon and all this other stuff. But then there are guys in this movie too, but the guys in this movie are the father, Flounder, and Sebastian, so okay, whatever. But then they introduce a little boy character for boys in this cartoon series. They knew boys were probably gonna watch it too. And that does help people. A lot of people don't think that helps, but it really does help people to have somebody you can see, be like, oh, okay, that's kind of like me and everything, or like, oh, there's like, another like male in this series and stuff. It's kind of like how an all male show will have like a female, but like, the female audience to latch on to. Now, like a lot of people don't want to believe that's not true because everything's so fluid now and everything's so gender neutral now, but it really does help to have some form of representation that you can like latch on to. And that's why representation is so great when it comes to like races and stuff. So that really did help, being a little boy, and little boys always taught to be like macho and, not to do like girly stuff. And, so when I like saw the girl cartoon, they're like, ugh, a girl cartoon. But then when I saw like the little dude in there, I'm like, oh, cool, there's like a little dude in there and stuff and all this other stuff. So that really did help, you know what I'm saying? And so like this cartoon always gives me just like so many conflicting emotions because it's kind of like I used to really hate the Little Mermaid movie. Like I really used to hate it. I love this cartoon series. I just got through recently watching it on Disney Plus back when I had Disney Plus and stuff. And one thing that this cartoon series does, it improves dramatically over that of the animated movie because this is a prequel. I don't know if it's still canon or not. Like, is it canon? That's the big question. Is it canon? Because there are things that happen in this series that conflict with the movie and stuff. And I get the movie came out a few years before the cartoon series, but they did try their best to keep continuity the same until they started messing things around. And so one huge question is it canon? Why? Because The Little Mermaid has came out with 3 movies, believe it or not. Now, I did see the second movie years ago on TV. I haven't watched it since, but the sequel movie, it takes place when she's like 28 years old, Ariel, and she has a kid, and the kid becomes like a mermaid and stuff when she talks to Ursula's sister, also voiced by Pat Carroll. And then something I never knew, there's a prequel movie that happens before the events of the first movie. So technically, that third movie should happen before the events of the television series because in the movie she meets Flounder for the first time. However, in the TV show, they show the instant she met Flounder for the first time, and they're 2 different meetings and everything. So now the prequel movie conflicts with that of the cartoon series. So I don't believe the cartoon series is no longer canon to the movies, but its own television verse. And the movies is its own canon within its own movie verse and stuff. So that kind of sucks because for so many decades, the television series was considered canon to like the older movie and stuff. And like I said before, it improves so much on the original movie because the characters are more fleshed out now. Because in the movie, everybody is so one-dimensional and everything. Basically, in the movie, it's like, okay, we know Ariel is rebellious. We know she loves to collect human things. We're not really sure why. She keeps defying her father's wishes. She goes up to the surface. She sees Eric. She rescues Prince Eric. She falls in love within like a few seconds and everything. And then he gets a glimpse of her. But then this is what's so irritating about older Disney movies. He's all like, that girl I saw who rescued me, I'm gonna find her and I'm gonna marry her. And it's like, dude, you only met her for a few seconds and you were basically delirious because you were knocked out and drowning. So why are you gonna marry her of all things? But that's old Disney movies for you, man. They're so one-dimensional with teenage girls and falling in love within a few seconds and getting married and being dependent like on a man and stuff. And then so, she goes and talks to Ursula, which the TV show retcons that too about their first meeting. And so like Ursula, takes her voice away. And you know what's so crazy is Jodie Benson, who voices Ariel. doesn't even have that much to say in the first movie because she's mute for half of the movie. And then when she does get her voice back, she still doesn't talk, except for like one little line and stuff. So it's insane because what really brought that character to life was her facial expressions and her movements and her actions and her determination and stuff. And then, of course, they defeat, Prince Eric defeats Ursula. That's kind of weird. A lot of the Disney heroes that the main central character never defeats the villain because Simba never killed Scar, the hyenas did. Aladdin never killed Jafar like Iago did. And it's just weird how that's always like something that happens in Disney movies. And then so she becomes human and leaves her family and everything, and she goes off with the prince, and that's basically just all that happens in like the first movie. And of course, Sebastian is the main second dairy star who steals the entire movie, and he steals the entire show when it comes to the TV series. Like, that little crab has the weight of the entire franchise on his back, man. He's so hilarious because we pretty much the entire movie we just follow Sebastian trying to help Ariel kiss the prince, and him not trying to get like cooked up into like crab stew or whatever you call it, or crab cakes. But when it comes to the Little Mermaid franchise as a whole, people need to respect the crap out of it. First of all, it improved on the original source material drastically. Now, I'll talk about the source material at the end of this video, but also the franchise as a whole did a lot of first and last for Disney and stuff, and people really need to appreciate that. First things first is that the television series is actually the very first Disney animated series based off of a Disney animated movie. This was the first of its kind. They've never done that before. Because see, originally, this was supposed to be a live action television series called The Little Mermaid Island. And they were gonna work together with Jim Henson and his puppets. So the puppets would show up every now and then and like live action stuff. But then Jim Henson died, sadly. May he rest in peace. And they decided to make an animated series instead. So this is the very first Disney channel, oh not Disney channel, but Disney television series based off a movie. Because we had some other great ones like Aladdin. My God, I love Aladdin. It pisses me off that Aladdin is not on Disney Plus. It pisses me off that the television series isn't even out on DVD. I don't know what's holding them up. Like, why isn't it on Disney Plus? It was a great animated series. And then, of course, you had like Hercules that I've never watched except for one episode, and Little Dalmatians, and so on, so on. And also, The Little Mermaid is the very first Disney princess to have a child. None of them has ever had that before. She was the very, very, very first and everything. And it's amazing to think that that's never happened before. Also, The Little Mermaid, the sequel movies, are the last Disney movies to be made in 2D animation. Now they're all CGI and everything. So The Little Mermaid is really the first for like a lot of stuff, you know what I'm saying? And that's kind of like cool, but a lot of people don't understand that. And so when it comes to the television series, I just remember waking up like Saturday mornings watching stuff on Fox Kids and then flipping the channels and then seeing this on CBS, which is weird because this is owned by Disney, and CBS now is partners with WB and stuff, and they're fighting companies. And then I just remember thinking to myself, hey, is this the movie? Like, no, this is the cartoon series. And I'm just like, when did they make a cartoon series? So I watched it and I really enjoyed it. Like, I really had a better appreciation for Ariel and stuff because, like I said before in the movie, she's so one-dimensional. Everybody is so one-dimensional in the movie. But in the television series, everybody is fleshed out. Everybody has their own true, unique personality and their own little thing that they do in the television series. And it is great. Now, the animation Because this is not the movies, the animation had to be simplified for television. It's just a thing that happens. It happened in Aladdin. Um, I would say that the animation is probably one or maybe two-fourths of that of what the movie is and stuff. It doesn't have that glossy feel. It doesn't have that fluidity feel. It doesn't have that Disney movie looking feel, but it's close. It's a close knockoff, if you will. It still looks enchanting. It still looks like it's underwater, and they do some really cool effects to make you really think it's on water. But the hair doesn't move around as much as it does in the movie. Her facial expression doesn't move around as much as it does in the movie. Um, her face actually looks a little different in the television series than it does in the movie, I've noticed. I just rewatched the movie because I was curious to remember what the movie was about because I haven't saw the movie since I was a kid. So when I rewatched the movie, I'm just like, wow, her face is like slightly different and stuff. Everybody else's designs are similar, but hers is slightly different. It's less expressionate because in animation but it's still in the animation thing, like this is old school 2D hand drawn animation, and it's very fluid for what the show did and stuff. So I give them props and everything. Now, one difference is about the movie and in the television series is that, okay, in the movies, I don't know exactly what you call this, but okay, from where it goes from a mer person's like torso, their stomach, and connects to their tail, there's like this flap that connects around the tail, right? Now, in the movie, it's very translucent looking and very silky looking and stuff, and it's like you can see through it. In the television series, it's just a solid piece and everything. And the tail is a little bit more detailed in the cartoon series when it gets to like the fin or the flapper. I don't know what you call that part at the bottom, but I'm not a fish person, all right. I guess you could probably call it like tail fin, probably. I don't know. Anyway, so it's a little bit more detailed than what it is in like like the movie and stuff. And so, what this cartoon series about? It follows Ariel, of course, voiced by Judy Benson. And I will say this, it's slightly different in this television
Her
series. Now, the years
voice.
have passed since the animated movie, but not that much. But her voice does sound slightly more different and stuff. It sounds younger. Maybe because it's a prequel series, like who knows? But because I remember when I rewatched the movie, I don't think the audio transferred over very well when they put it on streaming and stuff. And because even Sebastian's voice, and I'll get to him a little bit later, but yeah, Judy Benson's voice, um, her voice just sounds like slightly different. Now I love Judy Benson, like my God, man, she has one of the best animated voices of all time. And I remember they said she fought very hard in the third movie because they wanted to make Ariel more contemporary and stuff, more proper and prim, and she fought to make Ariel stay her rebellious state and everything. And I appreciate that. Although I think it would have been neat to see her a little bit more proper and prim in her younger kid days and stuff, or teen days or whatever, and then show that oh, she has an affinity for being rebellious a little bit later when something happens. That would have been a little bit neater. Now, I'll get really quick to her sisters. Her sisters, all their faces have changed in the television series. Like she still has all her sisters, but their hair and face have changed a little bit. And one's a little bit more plumper and stuff. So they changed the animations on the sisters. The sisters don't really get much to do. Only one gets like really one episode, and that's about it. Now, what's interesting that people should know this by now is that Alyssa Milano, back in her teenage years, was the inspiration for that of Ariel. And I couldn't really see it at first, but when I look at younger pictures of Alyssa, I'm like, oh yeah, she does kind of look like her a little bit. Now the intro. The intro is amazing. I love the intro. The intro is basically just Ariel swimming around the ocean, and that's like the only original footage. Everything else is from the actual TV show. And it ends with her on Spot, the killer whale, like in this Free Willy type like shot, and it's just so beautiful and like gorgeous and stuff. And the intro, it has like it plays the instruments. It doesn't sing nothing like that, but it plays three different songs. It's Your World, Kiss the Girl, and Under the Sea, and they just combine all three of those songs together, and it sounds like amazing. Now, the first season, the first and second season, the intro is completely the same, except for they swap out from the first season, Ariel being chased by sharks with Ursula in the second season. But then in the third season, they just change everything completely in the first half. And it's just them playing a bunch of instruments and stuff. And then the second half is like the original intro and stuff. I don't like the third intro all that much. Now, this is on Disney Plus, but if you don't have Disney Plus, guess what? Somebody uploaded every episode to YouTube. Now, this series is unique because there's actual singing in this show. Like, in Aladdin, they never sung in their animated series. I don't know about any of the other ones, really. I can't remember about Timon and Pumbaa. Ugh, I don't like Timon and Pumbaa, the television series. But, yeah, in this show, they sing a lot in this show. Not in every episode. Maybe probably like 4 or 5 times, like maybe 5 songs in the entire series, probably. Also, Sebastian had his own spin-off series because he's such a popular character and stuff. And his spin-off series was part of a segment in I can't even pronounce this cartoon series that was like in syndication on CBS. But yeah. Now, for some bizarre reason, the pilot episode is not on Disney Plus for some reason. Why? Nobody knows. But you can watch the pilot on YouTube. Every episode is basically the same. What it is Ariel going on her like little adventures and stuff. To find her father. She loves to explore. She loves to find human things. And we see her find tons of human things that she always calls like a whirly majigger or a thingamajigger and stuff like that. When her father finds out, he's very furious and stuff. And so she has to hide things from him. And so we get to see her little treasure cave and everything. Now this also breaks continuity as well. Sebastian knows about her treasure cave, but in the movie he knew nothing about it. And so Ursula places a spell on all of Ariel's like belongings and make them come alive and terrorize the mer people. So Ariel has to use a potion that destroys all of her treasures. And we find out why she loves to collect things. Before in the movie, it's made to seem like because she wants to connect more to the human world and everything. But it turns out the reason she loves them so much and she doesn't want to part ways with them is because her and her friends, like Flounder, they go on these adventures and they find them. And each adventure is a new story and everything. And she loves those adventures. And because, sometimes those adventures places her in harm and everything. And other times she gets to meet like other creatures and all kind of other like different locations. And so she doesn't want to part with her human stuff because it will be like throwing away her friendship with Flounder and everything. And so she tells Sebastian, don't worry, I'll create like a new treasure cave and everything. Which to his demise, he's like, no, don't do that. Now, Sebastian, my favorite character in this entire show. He is beyond hilarious. More hilarious than he is in the movie. Now, his voice has changed once again in this television series. When he did the movie, it was more of his normal sounding voice, but in the cartoon series, he has more of a stronger Jamaican accent. And it turns out Sebastian is from Jamaica. It is revealed in the second season. Now, in the first episode, he says the word "mon," like, you know how like Jamaican people say it, but then he never says it again in the first season until we get to the second season. And then he says it in every episode towards the end of the third and everything. And he's always saying, yo, mon, like stuff like that, and to show that, he has those Jamaican roots and stuff, Now, his animation is more simplified too for the cartoon series than it was more lifelike in the movie. Now, in the movie, his head or face, or whatever you want to call it, was more flesh colored and stuff. But in the cartoon series, he's more red, like all over. And I like that a little bit more than the movie. Because in the movie, he looked kind of gross with the red shell and the fleshy colored, peachy looking skin. I didn't like that, but I like it a whole lot more in that of like, the cartoon series. And in the cartoon series, he has a bit more of a bigger role. Like in the movies, he appears to only be the person in charge of like the orchestra and everything, like the music. And I never got the impression that he was the king's royal advisor and everything, you know? And oh, by the way, like I said before, he's voiced by what did I say his name was? Samuel E. Wright. And so sadly, like I said before, he passed away. But then in the cartoon series, he has a lot to do. First thing, he's the king's royal advisor. He's also the ambassador. He is a teacher. He babysits like Ariel and stuff. And not only is that, but he is like a camp advisor and stuff, because he has these little crabs that go to like a type of like summer camp type thing. And we even get to see his parents in one episode, because he lies to them and says he's the king. And he's just as much as a coward in this cartoon series as he is in the movies. However, he's a lot more friendlier in the cartoon series than he is in the movie. In the movie, he was grouchy and stuff. And so next is, now Sebastian, for some reason, he is the only person who calls Ariel Ariel. Like, he is the only character in the entire franchise who does that. Flounder, which is not a flounder fish. He's actually a yellow reef fish, a tropical reef fish. And he is, every incarnation he's in, he's voiced by like a different person. Because of course they get little boys to play him, and then they age up and they start to mature and their voice changes. So he's not the same person from the movies, but I'll tell you this right here, right now. They get two different actors in the cartoon series to play him, and they sound exactly alike. I couldn't even tell the difference. And then he sounds exactly like the dude in the movie. So they always get good people to play him. I don't know who plays him now. But in the cartoon series, let's see if I can find this. He is voiced by, first he's voiced by Eden Gross. And when he started to hit puberty towards the end of the first season, they replaced him with Bradley Pierce. And what's interesting is that he sounds just like Flounder, the first Flounder. And so Pierce, his voice started to mature halfway into like the second and third season, but they kept him alone. I remember thinking to myself, wow, his voice is starting to get older sounding and stuff. Now he's Ariel's best friend in the entire ocean. And he does everything with her. He goes on all her adventures. He's cowardly and stuff, but he's also very brave. He'll try to defend her, even though he'll get his butt kicked and stuff. Now, King Triton, he is voiced by Kenneth Mars, the same one from the movie. And sadly, he has passed away as well. And I've noticed one thing about the animation is both him and Ariel are more tan than they were in the cartoon. I mean, more in the movie and stuff. And this could be because of like the area of the world in which they live in and stuff, which is why they cast the way they did in the live action movies. I'll get into that a little bit later. He is the same as he is in the movies, but a lot nicer. He loves all his daughters, but of course he loves Ariel the most. There's always something I always found kind of interesting, that he has so many daughters, but he only likes Ariel. And so like he rules all over Atlantica. And just like in the movies, he doesn't want Ariel going to the surface. He doesn't want her trying to like meet humans. He doesn't want her to have any type of human object, and he forbids her from doing that. And he also is a lot more overly protective than he is in the movie. He won't even let her get like a seahorse that's a wild seahorse and stuff. And he's just as grumpy as he is in the movie, but he's a lot nicer, but he's more kingly and stuff. He's mainly the person who saves the day in nearly every episode with his trident. And so he's a little bit more fleshed out. He's not in every episode, but he's a lot cooler than what he was in the movie and stuff. Now there's a new character introduced in this franchise, but ironically, here's the craziest thing. Every new character that's introduced in this television series has never shown up in any of the three movies and stuff. So this is why I don't think it's no longer canon in its own universe. And his name is Urchin. He's voiced by Danny Cooksey. Now, he's done a lot of stuff. And he started off as an orphan, pickpocketer, criminal type person, right? He's a little kid, mer boy. And so he befriends Ariel. He turns against his boss, which is called the Lobster Mobster. I kid you not. Lobster Mobster is a very stupid mobster type criminal who has a shrimp for like a henchman. And so he's there for comedic relief. He's only in about like 2 episodes, probably, the Mobster Lobster. He wasn't that great of a villain. And so like, so after he, disembarks from them, he joins Ariel and befriends her, and King Triton takes him in as like an adoptive son. And so he's like really brave, he's quirky. There's one episode where he gets tricked by like an electric eel to steal King's Triton, Trident. And so like he gives King Triton like a potion and turns him to a little boy. And so he's a bratty little kid. And so he tries to like save the day and everything. He also has a crush on Ariel, and he gets jealous whenever like there's another guy that he thinks might like her and stuff. But all in all, he's a cool person. He's brave. He goes on some of their adventures. Him and Sebastian get into a huge argument in his last appearance, because he destroyed Sebastian's like trophy, and Sebastian just butthurt by that. But here's the interesting thing about Urchin. He appears a lot in the first season. Then, after that, his role is very, very, very decreased. He only appears once in season 2 and twice in season 3. So that's kind of odd that they'll create this new character but then get rid of him halfway through. Now that's the entire main cast. The supporting cast. Now there's 2 episodes that focus on this one mermaid that's really interesting that Ariel befriends. This mermaid is a mute. She's deaf. She can't speak. She can hear. Well, she's not a mute, but she's deaf. Oh, wait. No, she's a mute, but she can hear. I'm getting those confused. And so, yeah, and not only that, but she's Latino and stuff. And that's really interesting, because that was some early days representation in the 90s in a Disney Channel, not Disney Channel, but like a Disney property. Because not only is she like, a mute and everything, and she knows sign language, and she's a woman of color, which is very unique for that show. And she has a friend who's like an octopus. I forget his name. I think it might be Ollie or something like that. And it's kind of neat because she's kind of like, her and her octopus have a very similar relationship to that of Ariel and Flounder. And they go on adventures, and of course they get in trouble, and and it's just like typical Ariel has to be like rescued and stuff. But that's just like really cool that they would introduce a character like that, because you don't see that really in animation or a kid's project. Now Scuffle, he shows up in a cameo in the first season, but he shows up prominently in the third in 2 episodes. And he's still dumb and stupid, but not as dumb and stupid as he was in like the movies and stuff. At first Ariel was scared of him and he's a little mean towards him, but then they start to like be friends. And him and Sebastian have like a relationship as friends as well, kind of like frenemies, which they didn't have in the movie. Now he's voiced by the dude who voices Brain and Pinky in the Brain in the cartoon series. Somebody completely different in the movies. I forget why the dude in the movies didn't come back. And maybe he passed away, probably. I'm not really sure. A lot of people have passed away in that movie, sadly. And so he only interacted with them in 2 episodes, but I never liked Scuffle, to tell you the truth. I've never liked him in the movie. I didn't like him in the cartoon series. He's one of those type of characters that made me hate the Little Mermaid movie so much and stuff. Is Ursula the Sea Witch, voiced by Pat Carroll. May she rest in peace. And they've changed the species of her people. They're called octopi, I think now, or something like that. and they would call something else in like the movie. But like, this is where continuity starts to break a little bit, because in the movie, Ariel only meets her for the first time in the movie, but in this cartoon series, Ursula appears a total of 4 times. And then the first time she meets Ariel face to face and everything, because she's chasing Ariel and Ariel's scared. And so then in the next 2 appearances, she doesn't interact with Ariel personally, but with like King Triton and other people and stuff. And so that they was trying to like, okay, we gotta fix the continuity because she ain't supposed to meet Ariel and stuff. And then so in her last appearance, Ariel even mouths off to her, get face to face, and tell her to like, like pretty much just like buzz off and everything. So Ariel clearly knows who she is. Now in the movie, it can be implied that Ariel knew who she was and feared her, but it really seems like she didn't know who she was and stuff. And so, and of course, Ursula has her 2 eels and stuff. I'm trying to think of their names. Their names is Flotsam and Jetsam. I think that's what it is. Jetsam and Flotsam or something like that. They do what they do in the movies, they spy on everybody and stuff like that. However, Ursula treats them differently in the cartoon series. In the movie, she loves them to death. They're like her companions. But in the cartoon series, she treats them like crap and everything. And so Ursula still looks exactly the way she does. She acts the way she does. She's evil. But in the cartoon series, it is revealed that Ursula once was queen of all Atlantia in the throne and stuff. But then something happened and King Triton became, or then the mer people became king. This must have happened thousands and thousands of years ago, because we hear about like King Triton's like father and stuff like that. So this must happen like a really long time ago. And like I said before, she only appears in like 4 episodes in the entire series. Now this next character breaks continuity a little bit as well. Prince Eric. Now he's voiced by Jeff Bennett in this. Why? Because the dude who voiced him in the movie, my God, I can't believe this. I forget his first name, but it's Barnes Daniels. I think it's Christopher Barnes Daniels. The voice of Spider-Man from Spider-Man the animated series. And that's why he couldn't do this series, because he was busy being Spider-Man. Like, oh my God. So when we get to him in this series, he only appears probably 2 or 3 times. And it breaks continuity a little bit. At first they don't. They try to be coy and everything. So first we see him, like, here's the weird thing about this. I know Ariel's 16 in the movie. She's probably younger in this show. She's probably, I don't know, probably 13 in the first season. But then, here's the thing. I never knew how old Prince Eric is. But he always looked like a grown man to me in the movies. But anyway, he had to have been a teenager because, like, he's a prince and not a king. And so the first time we see him in this animated series, he's a pre-teenager with a juvenile looking face, right? And so, and even Max, the dog, is a puppy. And so what happens is Ariel is spying on him, but she can't see his face. A dolphin gets caught in the net. He jumps down below and he cuts the dolphin loose, but she can't see his face, and she's all like, wow, humans are not evil like my father said. So she doesn't see his face, so it doesn't break continuity, but he drops his shoe in the ocean. And so she keeps his shoe, which she calls a thingamajig. She always calls everything a thingamajigger or like something else with the last name Jigger at the end of it and stuff. And it's an interesting episode that comes with that. So anyway, so that's the first time she sees him. And we see Scuffle in a cameo, a non-speaking cameo. She doesn't see Scuffle and everything, but he's flying around when he sees Prince Eric and stuff. Then Prince Eric's next appearance, he is looking the way he does in the movie. So it's like, okay, some time has passed in the second season. How much time has passed? We don't know, but him and Max are looking exactly the way they did in the movies and not the way they did as teenagers and stuff. I forget what he does after this point, and he appears again in like the third season. And sometimes he has a speaking role, sometimes he doesn't. And then in one episode, he actually sees Ariel, and he tells like his butler dude, I think I just saw a mermaid. And his butler dude's all like, oh no, you're imagining things. Now this is a continuity problem, because in the movie, Prince Eric doesn't know the existence of mer people. And it's his butler that says, oh yes, they're probably fictional creatures and stuff like that. So they change things in this. Now there are other sea creature villains who only show up like one time. They cast spells on people and stuff, so they only show up like a couple of times. There's even human villains and stuff, like the dude from the circus who captures all the animals. And so Ariel has to like, rescue Spot. I'll get to Spot later. And so like he captures this like killer whale, and so like she rescues him, and she sees all these humans at the circus and stuff. And this breaks continuity too, because technically in the movie, Prince Eric and his people were the first humans she ever like saw at a very close distance and stuff. She meets humans a lot in this series. This also breaks continuity. Now, the lobster mobster, he, like I said, he's a villain. He's a dumb villain. He's just an idiot along with his shrimp friend, and then they try to always like take the jewels from like Atlantica. They try to like, steal all kinds of stuff. They stole babies to ransom them off. They're not pretty compelling villains, so they was cut very short and very early on. Then there are the two alligators from like, the first like season. And they only show up in one episode. The woman is more like the leader, the guy is more like a bumbling idiot. And when Ariel and her sister get in trouble for not going to like the fair or the circus or whatever, they have to stay behind. And then so when everybody's gone from the castle, the alligators try to sneak in. And then so basically it's a Home Alone type episode where Ariel, her sister, and Sebastian have to like, prevent like the alligators from like taking over and stuff. And it's so funny when Ariel's not allowed to go to like the fair type thing, because I tell you this right here now, nobody cries like Ariel in a Disney movie, man. She always gets so dramatic, so upset, and she puts her face down in her pillow and she just cries, and it's like the most sad, emotional, adorable thing ever. Nobody cries like her. Then there's one creepy Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein type like human who tries to like do experiments on fishes and other sea creatures and stuff. And Sebastian is like caught by him, and Scuffle has to kind of like save him, and Ariel and all of them and stuff. And Sebastian even befriends a little human boy and calls him his friend. And this is supposed to contradict the movie because Sebastian doesn't like humans and never met them and stuff like that. Now there are these villains as like these shark people. They're different from regular sharks. They have shark bodies, but they have arms, and their faces are more human looking and stuff. And they show up twice. In the second episode, Sebastian has to be the ambassador. They end up tricking with like a Trojan horse type thing. And then in the second time, they just try to like outright like attack them, and they're very evil, but they get defeated very easily. Then we get to Evil Manta, played by Tim Curry. And he's a recurring villain in all 3 seasons. He only shows up in 1 per season. And Tim Curry's voice doesn't even sound the way it normally does, because he plays him with a more of a smooth sounding voice and everything. And he's just as evil can be, but he gets like tricked like very easily. The first time he gets tricked by, I think like they were singing a song to him, and he didn't like all that, like, cause he was trapped and he got freed, and then they kept singing like a nice song to him, and he's like, oh no, this is too nice, and he flees. That was kind of like a lame defeat. But then the second time he gets outsmarted by Ariel. Remember when I said Prince Eric lost his boot, and so she calls it a thingamajigger? Well, lobster mobsters in this episode, and so everybody thinks the thingamajigger is like a powerful weapon, and so he has it, and he's gonna try to take on King Triton. But King Triton is kind of worried what this thing might do and stuff, he's all, and then but then Ariel shows up, and she defeats him, because see, Ariel defeats a lot of people, but she uses her brain, never her strength. And so she pulls out one boot, and he's all like, let's place your thingamajigger against mine and see whose thingamajigger is like the most powerful. But then she whips out 2 boots, and then he gets scared. He's like, oh crap, she has 2 thingamajiggers and everything, and he flees and everything. Then in his last appearance is in the series finale, where it's shown that he has a little kid. Now his personality changes in the 3rd appearance. He's more comedic and everything for some bizarre reason. And his son is evil bratty, but not so much, and he befriends Ariel. This pisses off his father. And his father unleashes a sponge type thing that sucks out your brain. So he tries to attack Ariel with it, but his son saves Ariel. And then the brain sucker attacks Evil Manta. Ariel saves King Evil Manta, and he's very confused. He doesn't understand why Ariel would save him because they're enemies and stuff. And this causes him to be a little bit nicer and stuff. Now, to the series. Now, in the 1st episode, she meets a killer whale named Spot. And he's like a little tiny killer whale. And so it's part of the intro that I like. And so she swims around with him. She keeps him hidden from her father from like many weeks or months and stuff. But he's getting bigger and a little rowdy and stuff. And so when King Triton finds out, he tells her, let him be free and all this other. She's like, well, he won't survive. But then he's like, oh, well, then you and Sebastian are going to teach him how to fight so he can survive against the sharks and everything. And so, like, she's trying to teach him how to survive, but he's too much of a baby and stuff, until Ariel's life is put in danger when sharks try to eat her and stuff. And then he acts tough, and then he defeats like the sharks by beating them up, and then he goes with the rest of his people. Then when he shows up again, he's much bigger, and King Triton really doesn't want him there then. But then he ends up, I already told you, got captured by like the circus and everything like that. Oops, sorry about that. There's an episode that focuses on Ariel and one of her sisters where they befriend this one girl who's like a snob rich girl type thing, and they go to Electric City, which is supposed to be like, this type of, not necessarily forbidden, but it's where like all the like raunchy bad people hang out, kind of like a club. And we see Ariel sneak out with her hair all done, looking like a hoochie mama and everything, going there knowing she's not supposed to go there, then get in trouble because like the red tide is coming in and stuff. And the show goes into weird territory about dinosaurs. They found the ancient city of some type of dino utopia, and the dinosaurs are frozen. Well, Ariel goes there, and Flounder ends up frozen with the ice. So she uses King Triton's Triton to free Flounder, but then she sees the other dinosaurs still captive, so she frees them. Well, of course they cause a rampage. Now how these dinosaurs are able to swim underneath water is beyond me, but they end up taking like the creatures on over to like this ancient island of like dinosaurs and stuff. It's a weird episode. It's like another episode because Sebastian loves the king, right? And so Sebastian loves to talk, and he has a big mouth where he spills the beans. Well, there's a secret that the king needs to keep, but he doesn't want to tell Sebastian. When Sebastian feels like, oh, the king doesn't want to talk to me, I quit. And so he gives in his resignation, and he tries like a bunch of odd jobs and stuff, but they just don't work out. Like I said before, there was an episode, really there's no solo Flounder episode, but there's at least one. And in that episode, he tells Ariel, like, I don't always like going on all these like dangerous adventures that you like to go on, because he's like a coward and stuff. But he does step up when it's time of need. And so like when they're there, they see like a werewolf type fish, and it bites him. And so when the moon, at certain times at night, he transforms into like a werewolf type fish. And so he's terrorizing mer people in town. So they want to kill him and everything. So Ariel has to find a way to save him. This is the episode that causes conflict between Urchin and Sebastian, because Sebastian got an award from King Triton, but it's not really an award. He got it from somebody else. He doesn't want it. Gave it to Sebastian. He doesn't know, because it's Sebastian's 25th year anniversary of him being the king's advisor. So he takes his trophy around everywhere he goes, right? And always rubbing it in people's faces. Well, it gets to the point where they're being chased by another creature, and so Urchin throws the trophy at the creature so he can eat it. And so this pisses off Sebastian when those two have a falling out. And so Ariel goes to the townspeople trying to stop them from killing Flounder, but they don't want to hear. So there is this like sea witch type person who knows how to cure, like, you know, that werewolf type fish. But she doesn't want to give it to none of the villagers because the villagers were mean because she looks different than them and they keep making fun of her. So Ariel asks, and at first she thinks Ariel's part of the villagers, but then she's not. So she gives Ariel the cure and everything. And so Ariel can give it to that of Flounder. So then King Triton, he loves it when Ariel plays music, and he wants Sebastian to teach her how to play, I forget what it's called, but it's like a bunch of, like you press a bunch of keys and it's like these brass horn type instruments and stuff. And it's like a traditional Atlantean, like, you know, musical instrument. Well, she doesn't want to play that. Instead, she found a human harp and she wants to play that. And so, of course, like she has to hide it from her father, but eventually she gets like caught. And, you know, it's really interesting because like she's the main protagonist, but she's so defiant in her father. It's kind of like, what kind of rules that to teach people? Don't listen to your parents. But I think this is one episode where she used the music to soothe like the beast or something like that. Then there's one episode about this merman who's like a huge hero. He helped Triton defeat like the octopus people that know Ursula. And so he's revered throughout all of the oceans and stuff, but he's been gone. He's been exploring the ocean. He comes back, they want to throw him like a feast and everything. And so you can see there's like some sadness in his face, and he doesn't want nobody to throw him no feast, no celebration, nothing like that. Well, he decides he's gonna go to Valhalla and talk to the mer people there. And retire. And so Ariel decides to go with him, which he doesn't want her to at first. In order to get to there, you have to like travel through all this dangerous stuff. Turns out he's a coward and he doesn't want to go to Valhalla to go through all that dangerous stuff, but Ariel makes him anyway because she doesn't know yet. So then when they get captured by some people, he tells her the truth. What happened between him and King Triton, it was that King Triton assumed that the mer dude, like, you know, waited and pushed like a giant boulder on the enemies and stuff like that. That's not the case. He hid and fled behind it, and it slipped and it fell on the bad guys and stuff. So Ariel now has to fight like this giant creature thing because they got captured by like the Viking Valhalla mer people, and they want them to slay like this dragon. So what they do is Ariel and Flounder are trying to fight it, but then he ends up fleeing, but then he gets scared for Ariel and Flounder, and he goes back, and he actually becomes a hero for once in his life. And he decided he's going to travel the ocean doing heroic things now. And it was Ariel, because he feared that her life would be in danger, and that gave him the strength and courage he needed. It's this one creature in the sea that's kind of like goofy looking, and people always assume it gives you bad luck. Ariel, being so nice that she is, she finds the good in everything. So she touches it, befriends it, and takes it home with her. Everybody's like, oh no, you touched the bad luck creature. Now you're going to get like bad luck and everything. But she doesn't care. This is the first appearance of Ursula who shows up. And her and the creature ends up defeating like Ursula and everything like that. And Ariel proves to the people that this creature is not bad luck. And it's kind of cool. Like she sees the goodness in everything and everybody when everybody's all like scared and afraid. And that's a great message to teach people. You're teaching people like just because somebody looks different doesn't mean they're bad. You know what I'm saying? Because prejudice is never a good thing. Now, one great thing, like I said, about this show is that it fleshes out its characters like a lot. And we get to see more of Ariel doing stuff because she didn't do that much in like the movie, you know, or say that much. And so like I said before, we get to see her do her adventure type stuff. There's one time where like she goes and she gets like magical powers from this magical being, and Sebastian wants to be huge, so she turns him huge, but then she uses up all her magic. And then so when the magic comes back, she just wishes that none of this ever happened, and she doesn't even remember getting like powers and stuff, right? And every episode she defies her father, which causes conflict and puts her life and her friend's life in danger. So King Triton always has to like rescue her and stuff, but sometimes she rescues herself. Now she goes up against like a lot of villains and stuff, but she never uses her fist because she's not strong enough. She always uses her mind. This series, this Ariel is very, very intelligent and thinks very quickly on her feet as opposed to that of the movie. And so she's always able to defeat her villains by just using her brains and stuff. And I really like that. It makes her a very intelligent character. And that's the thing about these Disney princesses. When they're in the movies, they're just one note. They just want to meet a boy, fall in love, and that's it. But in their sequels and in their television series, they're more fleshed out and they're more heroic and everything. And so, like, there's one episode where Flounder turns into kind of like a werewolf type thing, and it's all Ariel's fault because she went somewhere she had no business being. And so, like, she has to, like, get the cure for him. There's another episode where she gets, like, a human charm bracelet stuck on her wrist. And so she tries to put it back where she found it, but this giant whirlwind type thing is trying to suck her in, and King Triton has to save her. He has to save her behind a lot. And then there's the episode where she wants this wild seahorse, but her father won't let her have him because he's too wild. She doesn't believe him, hops on him, and he takes her all into like a dangerous area of like Atlantica and stuff. And so when she's hurt and everything, the seahorse does defend her and everything, but King Triton has to come and rescue her. And she realizes her father was right. The seahorse is too wild for her to tame and stuff. And that's normally how she is. She's a very defiant type person because she always wants to prove that she can do this and she can do that and stuff. And so it's a very cute, very fun, very like engaging little series and stuff. And more people should really check this out. Yeah, it does tend to be slightly a bit on the girly side, but there's tons of humor and adventure and intrigue and villainous type stuff that really keeps the stories like going. But this is really intended for like kids and people of all ages really. It's not too scary, it's not too lighthearted, and Sebastian is beyond hilarious in this. My God, he steals the entire show. And what's really interesting is there's an episode where called Metal Fish in the second season where she meets Hans Christian Andersen, the guy who created the entire Little Mermaid story from back in the day in other books. He's an explorer. He goes in the ocean in kind of like a submarine that's like a fish. Well, he gets like a leak and everything. And when he gets the leak, he's drowning, he's running out of air. Ariel sees this. Now, here's one part of the continuity that gets broken a lot in this episode. There's this one merman named Aristotle or something like that, and he's been banished from Atlantica because he's too invested in humans. He wants to know everything he can know about humans. He collects human objects. When Ariel finds a human object, she goes to him and he explains to her what it is until she meets Scuffle, who thinks he knows everything, right? And so in the movie, she never goes to Aristotle and everything because he got retconned completely out. And so when she tries to rescue Han and everything, her father comes and he's all like, leave this human alone, they're evil and blah 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 blah. She's all like, no father, I will never do that because I'm half human, you're half human, we're all half human, because mer people are half human, half fish. And so reluctantly he decides he's gonna save Han and everything. And he realizes maybe humans aren't as evil as he thought and everything. And when Han got rescued, he said, you know what, he's going to write about this experience and he's going to call it The Little Mermaid. And so that's how, it's kind of like a cool little cameo from the creator, even though the creator's been dead for over 100 years, at that time and stuff. And so, like I said before, it breaks so much continuity because Ariel has had so much contact with humans in this series, and so have everybody else. Now, when it comes to that of The Little Mermaid, the book, the actual novel is based on, my God, it is different by leaps and bounds. First of all, nobody has a name in that. Ariel is just known as the Little Mermaid. Prince Eric is only known as the Prince. And Ursula is only known as the Sea Witch. And Ursula barely shows up in the novels. The novel is a bit darker. Now, Scuffle, Flounder, Sebastian, they do not appear in the novels whatsoever. They were just created for the Disney thing. And so what it is that I forget how it starts off, but basically is Ariel wanting to know more about humans. Ariel has a grandmother, not a father, and her grandmother tells her all the stuff about like humans and this and that. Well, when the mermaids turn like 16, they are allowed to go to the surface to see what humans are about, to learn from them. And they go back every like 300 years or so. And so Ariel sees like the prince. He drowns. She saves him. And so he wants to find, this mer person that like found him and stuff, or the girl that and stuff like that. But he ends up marrying a different woman by mistake, thinking it's Ariel. And so she somehow she goes to like the sea witch and she wants to go up there, and the sea witch is like, all right, fine, you can meet your human, but I will take away your voice. Now it's different. She's not supposed to kiss him in order to stay a human. She has to, I think, have him like fall in love with her and marry her or some crap like that. And if she doesn't, then her penance will be she will die, turn to foam, and live out her life and like in death, just like non-existent, like boom poof, you gone, stuff like that, right? But when he ends up marrying a different girl, of course she can't fulfill her thing. So then her sisters go to Ursula and they're all like, all right, this is what you have to do now. They sacrifice their hair because Ursula always takes like a belonging of somebody, so she takes their hair. She's all like, here is a dagger, if you kill the prince, then you will get to live your life out as a mermaid and you don't get to die. Well, Ariel's so much in love with the prince, she doesn't do that. And so Ariel dies, turns to foam, but instead of just being non-existent, she floats up into like this heaven type thing where she gets to live her life with mer people of the past. It's very, 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 very different and stuff. I have no idea what the live action one. Well, the live action one gonna be based off the Disney movie. Thank God. And so with the live action one is Haley Berry, not Holly Berry, but Haley Berry, and I don't really know who she is. I think she was in some singing movie or something like that, so she's pretty new to acting and stuff. And so, of course, they race bent her, and of course, people lost their minds because, oh no, Ariel has to be white. A fictional mermaid creature has to be white and not black. So people went crazy over that, right? And so, like, I'm totally cool with that. I'm all about representation. I'm all about changing stuff. Everything was so white back in the day because the Little Mermaid story, it's not an American story. I forgot where it's from, but it's not America, I tell you that. I forget the country it's from. Geez, what country is it from? I totally forgot. But anyways, whatchamacallit. But this don't make no sense about like the movie. So okay, Ariel's gonna be black in this movie, right? But her father's gonna be Spanish. That don't make no sense. I'm all for representation. I'm all for race bending. I'm all for like, interracial families are cool and everything. But one thing I've noticed about modern day stuff is that they always want everybody's family to be so blended that where biologically it makes no sense and stuff. And so if Ariel's black, how is her dad Spanish and everything? And so I know that cast, I forget who cast Sebastian. I can't remember who it is. I hope the guy, whoever it is as good as the dude from the cartoons. Because if not, then that's going to ruin everything for me. He's one of my favorite characters. And so Melissa McCarthy is going to play Ursula. She has the look. I don't know if she'll be able to convey what Pat Carroll did with her voice. Because the thing about Ursula is not only is she evil, but she has this seductive, like, voluptuous va-va-voomness to her and stuff. And I've never seen Melissa McCarthy act that way. Like, never. You know what I'm saying? Plus, Melissa has slimmed down. And Ursula is a very thick woman. Like, they drew her butt, like, really big in the movie and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know how they're going to do that. And so then Scuffle has been gender bent to female, and Aquafina is going to voice her. Now, I don't know, I've never seen Aquafina in anything, like no movies. I don't know how she is. I know the black community got pissed Because I've never watched anything, but I've seen clips on the internet because I want to see why everybody was so mad. And yeah, in every project she's in, she acts like she's ghetto and everything, like a black person. But then when you talk to her normally, she just acts like a normal talking type person. So I don't know how she's gonna portray Scuffle in this. I hope to God she does like a great job. I never liked Scuffle to begin with. I've always hated that character. I think Harry Styles was originally gonna play like the prince, but people had a problem with that because he's a singer, not an actor. So they went with this other person, and I don't know who plays Flounder. I just hope the CGI is on point. I hope the movie's gonna be good. I have my problems with these live action adaptations of Disney classic movies and stuff. I'll get into a video about that much later because like I said, I just saw The Lion King and I am pissed about the live action CGI like Lion King movie. Like, I am utterly disgusted. That is one of my favorite Disney movies of all time, next to Aladdin. And my God, I can't believe what they did in that movie and stuff. But I'll get into that much later, because when it comes to these live action adaptations, because I've only seen a couple. I haven't seen them all. I've seen Aladdin, I've seen Beauty and the Beast, I saw Lion King, I saw a couple of the Snow Whites and Alice in Wonderland. I have never been happy or thrilled. I do not own none of them on DVD. Like, it's just something, they're missing something, you know? But anyways, happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.